Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another prodigious episode of the best darn show on the internet, the Sharon Show. That's right, we make that type of claim here. We don't make many more claims. If you pay attention, you'll notice, but we will claim that we are the best darn show on the internet. So anyway, what's up, Sharon? How you doing today?
We have to applaud ourselves here and there,
Yeah,
you know.
it's self-love. It's not an
Yeah.
ego thing, everybody.
It's not
Trust
the
me.
ego thing. That's
We
right.
get that.
That's
It's
right.
probably, some people are like, this is boring. What do you mean it's the best? But to those who get it, they're like, yeah, this is the best darn show on the internet. So,
Yeah. If you don't agree, that's okay. We don't hate you or anything.
yeah, it's fine. We can agree to disagree, everybody. Uh, anyway, I have a quote for today.
Prodigious.
Oh yeah, prodigious was the word I chose, which means, let's see, as in
Causing
marvelous,
wonder.
definition, causing wonder or astonishment, marvelous. So
It's
we,
nice.
instead of like, Marvel, that whole thing, it's like huge everywhere. We're prodig. We got the prodig movies coming. I just made that up on the fly. Anyway,
Prodige comics.
yeah, prodig. We're prodigious. We might not be marvelous, but that's kind of played out anyway.
Yeah.
Ask Billy Crystal. You look marvelous. Remember that guy? All right.
I don't.
So we have a quote today, and today's quote, Sharon, the lovely Sharon, sent this to me, and I thought it was so great. I just want to put the whole thing in here, so it's a little on the long side, but
Eh.
we've had way longer ones, so it's not a big deal. Love has to spring spontaneously from within, and it is in no way amenable to any form of inner or outer force. Love and coercion can never go together. But though love cannot be forced on anyone, it can be awakened in him through love itself. Love is essentially self-communicative. Those who do not have it catch it from those who have it. True love is unconquerable and irresistible, and it goes on gathering power and spreading itself until eventually it transforms everyone whom it touches. And that is by Mayor Baba. Very
Yeah.
thought-provoking, if not to say the least. What do you
And
think?
very apropos, I think, because last week we were talking about love as this universal language, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. And the boy
So
was falling in love.
yes, he was. And he was recognizing even like a piece of what that is, right?
What it could be. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I like this because it's like this is the real virus. Love is the real virus, but in order to test positive, to be a carrier, to spread it to others, you
Uh-oh.
need and to do that, you need to first love yourself. I mean, could it be? I don't want to make a claim. We already made one so far, so let's limit ourselves. But I think that, if you love yourself and you really do, people see it because then, for example, say you're doing something, you make a mistake and you're easy on yourself, and people are like, wow, he wasn't even mad when he like, smashed his $300 contraption, whatever it was. His cell phone just smashed in half and he's taking it like a champ. It's like, wow. And then some people are a little conscious or even on the edge or maybe even really conscious. They'll be like, wow, what am I doing in my life that, like I'm letting these little things bother me. This guy just doesn't even care. Um, well, you
I
go ahead.
I have something to say when you're done.
Yeah, no, I'm done. That was just my example, you could spread it that way, but there's other ways.
That that reminds me of, and I haven't listened to Robert Monroe's books in a little while because I finished all the trilogy, but it reminds me of something that he experienced in his travels out of the
Um,
body. And it was this I don't even know what word to use, but essentially in his experiences there was an entity which we'll just call like his higher self that was helping him throughout all these things that he was experiencing in the astral or whatever you want to call it, out of body experience, second body. And there was there were moments in time where he was allowed to experience things multiple times, like the movie
Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Yes. And so let's say he was given this experience of like his dog dying or something, his dog like passing away right in front of his eyes or something like that. Like, let's say he got hit by a car or something. I can't remember the exact story, so I'm just like kind of trying to remember a little bit. So let's say the dog got hit by a car, and he sees the experience, and he's like, no, right? He got to experience it like, let's say like three times. The first time he was just like distraught, like this, like, the attachment was still there, right? Oh my God, I cannot believe my dog just died. This is ridiculous, right? And mind you, when he's experience in these like little like tiny spotlights of experience, like that little moment in time, it feels like he's there, like he feels like it's really happening. So he's reacting in the way that he would react, right, normally. Like he lost his dog, oh my God, the world's gonna end for
Mhm.
him. And then that, as soon as he has that experience, whatever, it ends and it starts all over again. He gets to do it again. This time
Wow.
he's maybe a little bit less attached. And then say maybe by the third time, he's like, you know what? It was the time, it was whatever, right? He just like was able to be in the moment and like make peace with it and have peace about it. Um and so he got to do that like a few times, right? Makes me think of like here in this lifetime, we are not necessarily given opportunities in the astral to like pretend like we're experiencing that, right? But we're given opportunities to experience it because this is all an illusion anyway. So we're
Exact.
we're
Yeah.
given it time to experience that now. So um people that say, for example, are really attached to that phone, to that cell phone. They paid, $1,000 for that stupid phone, right? And they're just like, this phone cannot, nothing can happen to this because otherwise my life will be like lost, right? And it's funny because the other day, where was I? We were somewhere, and it was like the grocery store. We're in line or something. Somebody's phone fell and nobody noticed that the phone had fallen on, and it was like sitting there. And I was like, there was a lady that was the next cash register. I think it was Marshall's. I was at Marshall's. So it's a lady at the cash register to the left of me, and I was like, is that your phone? Because she was checking out, and she's like, oh no, that's not mine, and she walked away. And then the other lady who was to the right of me at that cash register didn't even look, didn't wasn't even paying attention. And I looked at her and I was like, is that your phone? And she finally paid attention. She's like, oh my God, that's mine. And and she's like, thank you. And she took her phone, and I can't remember who said it, or somebody said, it was just like, oh my God, can you imagine like if you lost your phone, it would just be the end of, just somebody was just like saying like, oh, that would be the end of the world, like type of thing, right? And in my
Yeah.
head, just kind of like, I don't know what it.
I,
Oh, I was like, and maybe that's why I haven't lost my phone because I really don't. To me, it's there. Yeah, I might lose a few pictures that I didn't back up, but other than that, really, there's nothing really that I would lose.
look, cat fight going on. Sorry, they're right now. Thumbs. It's a little male female thing. They get a little close and freak out, but no, go ahead. I like what the
Yeah,
point you're making.
and then I used to be the type that would like I would back in the day, like you know, when the iPhone first came out. Not that I got it right away because I was never one to like get something right away
Yeah,
necessarily
like
like
stand
that.
in
I would
line.
wait, but still, like, every couple of years, I'd be like, oh, this phone's driving me nuts. I have to get a new one. Right. And I've made it past, I think I've made it past the 3 year mark with the phone that I have now. And I'm just like, whatever, it's fine. It's working. It works. It work and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny how that happens once you start to, and that's kind of part of the whole spiritual experience. Things that were a lot more important to you start to not become as important. That's something I experienced myself, and cell phones are a great, um, gauge for
Example.
that. Because a lot of people are, well, there's certain people that are into that. They have flip phones even, and they're just like, I don't need a phone, so yeah, I like it. It's a good
I
example.
guess.
They spend 1,000 for a phone and then watch it fall off a boat into the water or something. You're just like,
Yeah. I
goodbye.
mean, I can imagine that happening and just like, no, but
Yeah,
like in the
yeah,
case that like like that's all you have to communicate with someone and no one knows where you are. I mean, yeah, that's kind of like, okay,
yeah.
that would be like, okay, well, I guess I just be here now.
I'm on my
I'm
own now. Yeah.
I'm floating on this boat and we'll see what happens.
God wanted me to learn some lessons, but yeah,
Yeah.
and also, I'm not saying I'm like I'm some superstar that like my phone would just spontaneously combust, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. But what I'm more talking about is like your behavior after that, and if you let it ruin your whole day, your whole mood, your whole life, right then, you could mourn the
Hmm.
loss of your phone, and then also think about maybe what you're grateful for or whatever. It's a good exercise to do. I'm just talking about, losing your whole center of like who you are
Mm.
and stuff. Yeah. I get it though. It's important. There's important things on there, so. Yep. But that's what we're talking about when we're talking about love, everybody. Love yourself, and then you don't have to worry about things like that as much.
Yeah, and maybe this little shepherd boy is experiencing this right now because he chose to love himself by what? By following the path to his personal legend.
Yeah,
Instead of like, oh no, this will never happen. I'm gonna go back to Spain. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a shot. And in that, I think he's showing that he loved himself
yeah, great point.
first.
Awesome.
And we ended kind of on the spot where she tells him, like, basically in so many words, you have to love yourself first by following your personal
Mm.
legend. I'll still be here. I'll be here. So don't worry about me. Just do your thing.
Yeah, she realizes that if he doesn't, he's always going to have that what if syndrome. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's kind of like how they say, well, that was a good one. How they say, if you love something and let it
Let
go,
it go.
right? If you
Yeah.
love something, let it go. It'll come back to you or whatever if it's meant to be. Same, that's what she's doing. She's letting it go.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's funny because every other time when I've heard that in my life, I thought like physically you'd have to let go, but really it just means let go
The
of the
mental.
attachment, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Indeed.
because then if you're attached, you can actually experience what it is in the moment instead of being always worrying if you're going to lose it or whatever, or the person. So yeah,
Yep. Well,
well,
today I'm pulling from the Golden Art Nouveau deck, and I have pulled the 10 of Wands.
ooh.
Brandon, you know this card probably better than I do, but look at
Let me
that
pin you for 1 second so everyone
gold
can get a look.
foil in the back there. But it kind of looks like the Rider Waite because this one's kind of fashioned a little bit after that. Uh, I should say Waite Smith because Rider was only the publisher. Smith, Pamela Coleman Smith, was actually the artist.
That's all right. Well, the Ten of Wands, and you could see it right in the card. It tends, it's just like a one, and it's more of a completion of a cycle. But when you complete a cycle, you also open the door to a new cycle that you're in. And this kind of is talking about like a mastery in wands, so it has a lot to do with fire and creation,
Action.
action. So this could be at a point where you got so good at everything you're doing, but you're like juggling too much maybe. So you have to learn in the next 10 how to figure that out and how to master whatever challenge is coming your way. So right now it's like a challenge of abundance, right? It's like you just won the lottery and you have the problem of having all this money. And people are probably laughing. What do you mean you're having the problem of all this money? Well, I don't know if you know this, Sharon probably does, but a lot of people who win a lot of money in the lottery, many people who win tons of money in the lottery, they end up in really bad shape because they don't know how to handle it. And even they die sometimes. So a lot of times, from what I understand, I mean, this is what I hear. Who knows?
And they lose it or they spend it all and then they're
Yeah,
just
easy
like
come, easy
back.
go, right?
Yeah, they're
So
back to normal.
he's at the point where he has this abundance now. So and it's becoming, I don't want to say like a problem, but just something he has to now face, like I said, and deal with in the next set. So sometimes when you complete and break a cycle, it's not always like, oh yeah, this is it. It's great. It's the end of the world. Sometimes you complete the cycle only to realize that you have other stuff that you have to do now because it's like a step along the way. But it's again, I think that's what this realm is for. So it's nothing bad or anything negative, right?
Right.
So I could
Do
see that pertain to our story where now this guy found somebody he loves, and it's like this abundance of love, but what's he gonna do with it now? Is he gonna continue his personal legend, or is he gonna just settle down, or what's he gonna do? Or take the girl with him? Who
That's
knows?
a good call. Yeah.
So,
I'm just going to read the little thing from the little book
mm,
here. It says, overburdened with an impossible load, the man cannot hope to successfully carry all these wands to his destination. A wise person knows when too much has been taken on. Don't weigh yourself down with so many tasks and projects that none can be done well. Hand over some of your responsibilities. Do not make yourself a martyr.
well, that's a good point, right? Because some people become martyrs. There's nothing they can do. But if you're gonna make yourself a martyr, that's like the ultimate form of victim narrative because you're like, look what I'm doing. I'm
Yeah.
suffering for you, like
Yeah.
it's all right. I don't need that guilt gift, right?
Yeah. And the shepherd boy doesn't need to do that. He doesn't need to be like, I'm suffering for just to come back and bring you something and treasure and stuff, girl. You know,
Yeah, and the girl's
he
not
doesn't
like,
need to do it for that reason.
yeah, and she's not like, I'm gonna be sitting here suffering while you're away.
Yeah,
Oh, she's supporting him.
indeed.
Oh, I did want to say welcome if we have any new listener, watcher, subscribers, whatever. Thank you for checking us out. Make sure you do subscribe, hit thumbs up if you like what you see, leave some comments. Let us know how we did. Let us know what you're thinking of the series. Keep us up to date. And go to morelawsmoreproblems.com. Click on the Oversharing tab. And there's several ways there to support us. All right. I'm going to
Hold
try to
the
remember to.
line. Bum, bum,
That's right.
bum,
Hold the
bum.
line. Help Oversharing. Hold the line. Down, 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 down. Go to
Love it.
morelawsmoreproblems.com.
Come.
Click on the Oversharing tab. Oh, no. Yeah. Hold the line. All right.
Love isn't always on time. Dum, dum, dum,
Right.
dum.
We're using Toto in our commercial.
Yeah.
For free. Haha. We're digital bandits. All right. So it's not actually Toto. They wish they were this good. Okay. So I'm going to bring this up. Let's dive right in
Indeed.
to the material today. Okay. So, all right. So if
We're
you
on
want, I
page
could start,
77.
right? Is this it? We're the Hawks?
We're if you go to page 77, where it starts at the
Oh,
top, the boy wanted to take her hand.
gotcha. Okay. I see
Yeah,
it now.
there it is. We were at the boy was sad.
Okay.
Yeah, and as you can see right before it, it says what she told him that if she was really part of his dream, that he would come back one day. And we were just talking about that. So, do you want me to get started?
Yeah, sure.
All right. The boy was sad as he left her that day. He thought of all the married shepherds he had known. They had a difficult time convincing their wives that they had to go off into distant fields. Love required them to stay with the people they loved. He told Fatima that at their next meeting. The desert takes our men from us, and they don't always return, she said. We know that, and we're used to it. Those who don't return become a part of the clouds, a part of the animals that hide in the ravines, and of the water that comes from the earth. They become a part of everything. They become the soul of the world. Wow. I mean, she's a very wise girl and she's
A
not
desert,
attached. Yeah, you can tell. And she's talking about this, like, I guess what you can call like Advaita, is it? Um, where we're
one.
all one, we're all part of everything. So she says, if you don't return, then you just become part of everything else. The clouds, like, I'll see you in the clouds, I'll see you in the animals, I'll see you in the ravines of the water from the earth, everything. You will be, you will become the soul of the world when you're not in this like manifestation of a human body, of a physical 3D experience.
Yeah, because where could it go, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, this reminds me a lot of Dune with the desert because I feel like the reason the desert people are this way is they just accept it. It's such a harsh way of life. And if you don't accept it, you die. So the people who don't accept it in the desert, they die, so they don't procreate and they're not around to talk, right? So the only ones
they're
who are the
driven by
smart.
fear.
Yeah, true, exactly. So you learn early when you're a desert dweller, these things, and I think that's kind of probably why Frank Herbert used the desert in the way he did with that novel with Dune and stuff. So
That's nuts. Yeah.
yeah, it's really profound because it really represents a polar end of a scale here for a place of existence that a human can exist in, right? Because there's very limited everything. So it's really cool. It makes you because in a normal civilization, people have the luxury of not accepting things. They have the luxury of deluding themselves. But if you do it in the desert, you're gonna die of thirst, So yeah.
Indeed.
All right. Here we go.
Some do come back, and then the other women are happy because they believe that their men may one day return as well. I used to look at those women and envy their happiness. Now I too will be one of the women who wait. So she's turning it into something good. She's not being a victim, right?
Yeah.
I'm a desert woman and I'm proud of that. I want my husband to wander as free as the wind that shapes the dunes. And if I have to, I will accept the fact that he has become a part of the clouds and the animals and the water of the desert. The boy went to look for the Englishman. He wanted to tell him about Fatima. He was surprised when he saw that the Englishman had built himself a furnace outside his tent. It was a strange furnace fueled by firewood with a transparent flask heating on top. As the Englishman stared out at the desert, his eyes seemed brighter than they had when he was reading his books. So he's starting to get it a little,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, he is.
He's not stuck in the theory of it, right? He's actually taking action, which was what the alchemist told him to do,
He's
you
starting to
know?
wake up to the real world, like we were saying, right? And he's starting to lose it a little bit. He's just staring into the desert. It's a good sign, though. It's a good sign for him. You're right, because I think he's starting to shed the intellectual part of alchemy and start to get into, the feeling, the spiritual part of it, the unspoken, the thing that you need to experience. It's like the Matrix, right? It can't be explained. You have to experience it for yourself, kind of thing. And he's starting that journey, it looks like. So good for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Mhm.
This is the first phase of the job, he said. I have to separate out the sulfur. To do that successfully, I must have no fear of failure. It was my fear of failure that first kept me from attempting the master work. So, see, there's the fear,
Yeah.
right? You're talking about. Now I'm beginning what I could have started 10 years ago. See, he realizes he wasn't really even doing it. He was saying to the shepherd boy, I already did this. I've tried this before, but I guess I'm going to do it again. But apparently when he was doing it before, he wasn't really doing it. He was always fearing failure. So here we go. But I'm happy at least that I didn't wait 20 years. So there you go.
And I want to stop right there because you made a great highlight about fearing and that, he had a fear of failure. And what that does, I believe, in this realm is it impedes your belief system. So if at any part of you believes that it's not going to happen, it probably won't happen. I mean, sometimes things happen despite our belief and all this stuff. But when we're talking in the realm of especially getting something like to try to understand it and get that experience, and then to become an alchemist or whatever, you really have to have faith that you can do it. It requires a leap of faith. It's just like in Indiana Jones and the chalice, what's the one? Holy Grail one
Yeah.
with Sean Connery when he has to take that step. They're inside the cave and there's that big chasm and it's just like a leap of faith. So he takes a step and his foot lands on a bridge that you couldn't see because
Yeah.
the optical illusion. So that's exactly what it is. You have to, with all your fiber, just go and know that, hey, if I fall, I'm just meant to die here, I guess, whatever. And that's when the secrets are revealed to you, I think, you know,
Yeah.
when you're in your most despair. I got a great story I could tell. I've been super busy working, like I've been DJing. Sharon knows all this. This is why I'm bringing it up. And so we've been trying to schedule these, and we wanted to record this today, which is of course pre-recorded. But I was scheduled to work. But then because of the rain and the nature of the work I was doing during the week, it got postponed. So it worked out so well. So now I have some time for the show for Sharon. I have some time for my lovely woman Elizabeth now. So it's funny because I didn't give up. I didn't despair. I was like, we're gonna make it work. We'll figure something out. And then God was like, no, here you go. You didn't give up. It's like Melchizedek, he's like, here you go, have a day off. So that's how I try to look at it. And things have just been lining up with like gigs. I'll think I'm running late or early or something's, and it just lines up. And now I just keep telling myself it's gonna be perfect. I just leave when it works out. I get there when it works out. And it's been a whole and really what it is it's because of this show. I'm up here every week saying all these things, and I'm like, what kind of asshole?
Preaching
What
to yourself.
kind of jerk would I be if I didn't put these things into action, right? So
Yeah.
that's another benefit of the show is that because I got into Eknath. I practice this. I practice it. Eknath Eshwaran has so the translation, the audiobook of the Bhagavad Gita I've been listening to, but there's this other one kicking around where it's Paul Baisley again, who's the narrator a lot of times for Eknath. Eshwaran. And so anyway, they're talking about how you put it into your daily life. It's like a different book. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. The Bhagavad Gita for daily life. I have that one.
oh yeah.
I
So I was
haven't
listening to
listened to it.
that and you get some cuts. It seems like they might have cut up that and it's like, but the thing in there is really cool. It lines up really well with the Imitation of Christ and stuff like that. So I've been listening a lot to that, and he was saying how people have a lot of spiritual wisdom. He's like, you can have all the spiritual wisdom and know all the verses and know everything you're supposed to do and know it, but you never put it into action. And I feel like this show is a way for us to showcase our knowledge, to talk about it, share it with other people. And then for me, and I'm sure for Sharon too, and anyone else that feel free to use it as a guide, it also then works to put a little bit of motivation for me to actually put this into practice because not only do I know it, but I'm telling other people about it and I'm saying, hey, this is probably the way you should live. So therefore, I have all this motivation and I don't know if motivation is the right word, but I feel like an obligation, I guess, to live this way to myself and to others. So it's really interesting how that plays out. Um,
Yeah. What
Yeah.
you said, something about like something you said made me think of this quote from the Bible, from First Corinthians 13:2. It's the one about love. It says, if I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith that I can move mountains, but I don't have love, I am nothing.
Yeah, and you know, I'm a wedding DJ. I provide sound for wedding ceremonies before the party. I provide sound and mics all the time, and this is a quote that I hear at least once a week. And it really, every time I hear it, it blows my mind in a different way. And that's one part I was focusing on. It's like, you know, you could believe that you can move mountains. That this realm, they're telling you that in this realm, you could do anything you want. You really could,
Mm-hmm.
and it's fine. But if you don't have love, what's the point? You're
Mm-hmm.
just playing a video game, technically, really. At the end of the day, you're just trying to, you know, you're out there you're stacking Chuck E. Cheese tickets. You know, you think you're like a kid playing these games. You're like, I'm the best at skee ball. You know, I'm the best at like, and I got all these tickets and I'm gonna bring them into my adulthood. It's like, and I'm gonna buy a house with them. It's like, no, you're not, dude. You're all the stuff you're gonna get is just cheap crap that's behind the counter, and it's gonna fall apart in a few days. You're gonna be excited when you first get it. You know, it's like such a great analogy for desires, right?
Yeah.
So, anywho,
I feel like I have to read the that little bit
yeah,
of First Corinthians 13, verse 1 through whatever. We'll see where we stop. It says, if I could speak, I'm reading from the New Living Translation. I guess I could pick a different, I could read from the KJV. It's fine. I'll read this one. If I could speak all the languages of earth and of angels, but didn't love others, I would only be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I had the gift of prophecy, and if I understood all of God's secret plans and possessed all knowledge, and if I had such faith that I could move mountains but didn't love others, I would be nothing. If I gave everything I have to the poor and even sacrificed my body, look, martyrs, look, see,
yeah,
I could boast about it,
exactly.
but if I didn't love others, I would have gained nothing. And then
It's
this is the
so
part you always
powerful.
hear, right? Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wronged. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith. It is always hopeful and endures through every circumstance. Prophecy and speaking in unknown languages and special knowledge will become useless, but love will last forever.
Yeah.
Now our knowledge is partial and incomplete because obviously we're not there yet. We don't know, right? And even still, like, we can't possibly know everything, right? And even the gift of prophecy reveals only part of the whole picture. But when the time of perfection comes, these partial things will become useless. When I was a child, I spoke and thought and reasoned like a child. But when I grew up, I put away childish things. Now we see things imperfectly, like puzzling reflections in a mirror. But then we will see everything with perfect clarity, like once we're done with this realm, right?
Yeah.
Or on the other side, I should say, maybe, perhaps. We're not making plans. But all that I know now is partial and incomplete, but then I will know everything completely, just as God now knows me completely. Three things will last forever: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. Yeah.
I will know myself as God knows me. God knows you're perfect. Who's God? Could it be your higher self? I don't know. But guess what? You're already perfect. And it's just that you don't know it. And that's where all your problems stem from. Could it be? And when I
Yeah.
say you're perfect, it means that, yeah, you're supposed to, whatever's going on in your life, you know,
You're supposed to be here
that's what's
now
supposed to be
and do
going
the
on.
things that you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could it be there's some kind of lesson contained in there that is the whole part of your problem, whatever it is. And I'm speaking to me, everyone. We're just singing to the preacher. We're
Yeah.
preaching to the choir.
Definitely. I preach to myself on the show all the time.
Such very powerful words. Also, I like how it's apophatic. I think we might have talked about this before, but I mean,
Mm,
it does say love is patient, love is kind, but then it'll say all the things it's
it
not.
is
And
not. Yeah.
really, what he's saying is love is selfless. Love is loving you and everyone equally. Yeah,
Unconditionally.
and also yeah. So it's yeah. Huh. It's a tough concept. It's a fun one,
Yeah.
but
I think it's why we're here.
yeah. Could it be?
Dare I say, dare I claim?
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a reason that quote is just read at every wedding, where wedding is like a full expression of exoteric love, right? On the exoteric
Right.
outside, like marriage, somebody's the highest expression of outward love, right? And they're reading this quote all the time. So
Yep.
it's there, right? It's just it's like the Matthew quote about there's, many people have wanted to hear the things you've heard and have not
Yeah.
kind of thing too.
Yeah.
So. All right. I wonder if anyone's been at a wedding like tripping and heard that and been like changed their whole life. Like, that's right. Love is patient and kind. I get it now. It doesn't brag or boast. You're right. All right.
Yep, yep, yep. Shall I keep reading?
Yeah.
This is the first phase of the job, he said. I have to separate out the sulfur. To do that successfully, I must have no fear of failure. Ding, ding, ding. It was my fear. Oh, I read that already. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Let's say. Let's keep going. He continued to feed the fire, and the boy stayed on until the desert turned pink in the setting sun. He felt the urge to go out into the desert to see if its silence held the answers to his questions. He wandered for a while, keeping the date palms of the oasis within sight. He listened to the wind and felt the stones beneath his feet. Here and there, he found a shell and realized that the desert in remote times had been a sea. That's funny. He
Yeah.
sat on a stone and allowed himself to become hypnotized by the horizon. He
Whoa.
tried to deal with the concept of love as distinct from possession. Ooh. Mm.
Oh.
And couldn't separate them.
Haha.
But Fatima, he's being honest with himself, right?
Yeah.
But Fatima was a woman of the desert, and if anything could help him help him to understand, it was the desert. As he sat there thinking, he sensed movement above him. Looking up, he saw a pair of hawks flying high in the sky. Here's his little spirit animals talking to him.
Yeah.
He watched the hawks as they drifted on the wind. Although their flight appeared to have no pattern, it made a certain kind of sense to the boy. It was just that he couldn't grasp what it meant. He followed the movement of the birds, trying to read something into it. Maybe these birds could explain to him the meaning of love without ownership.
All
He
right.
felt, scroll. He felt sleepy. In his heart, he wanted to remain awake, but he also wanted to sleep. I'm learning the language of the world, and everything in the world is beginning to make sense to me, even the flight of the hawks, he said to himself. And in that mood, he was grateful to be in love. When you're in love, things make even more sense, he thought. Suddenly, one of the hawks made a flashing dive through the sky, attacking the other. And it did so, as it did so, a sudden fleeting image came to the boy, an army with its swords at the ready, riding into the oasis. The vision vanished immediately, but it had shaken him. He had heard people speak of mirages, and he had already seen some himself. They were desires that, because of their intensity, materialized over the sands of the desert. But
Wow.
he, but he
That's
certainly
sorry.
didn't desire that an army invade the oasis. Go ahead, you can.
Okay, yes. I was gonna say that's interesting. I never thought of mirages that way, but that's exactly what it is. It's your desire and like for water or whatever it is to see that your brain is like, well, the only way to keep him moving is to show him that there might be water out there, or else he's just gonna give up and die in the desert, right? So,
Yeah,
but if you look at it as far as the way we are like so steeped in our desires a lot of times coming up in this materialistic society that we do, because we're always told that if we just satisfy all our desires, we're going to be so happy. Like that's the key to happiness. And it's funny that they're he's comparing a mirage to a desire. He's basically
Yeah.
saying that. So
Yeah.
think about how we might have plenty of water in this society, but we're having all these mirages. Like we think that all these things are going to help us. It's because I think we're like thirsty spiritually or like starving spiritually, and these religions and stuff like that for people, it's enough to kind of alleviate some of that spiritual thirst. It's like a trickle, but people don't realize that it's all within. There's a well, and it just
Hmm.
starts gushing all the water or whatever spirituality you
Yeah.
can ever want. Right.
Yeah. Jesus spoke of that well, right? It was a well that shall never run dry.
Yeah.
Uh, when he speaks to the woman at the well, it was let me see if I can find the scripture. Jesus met the woman at the well, Lord.
And you know what else is funny? He has prophecy and love because well, I mean, could it be he's having a prophetic vision, but he also has love, so it's not going to drive him crazy. Think if he just had that vision, but he also didn't have this love for himself and for Fatima and like look at things the way he does, right? You get this inner dialogue, and that's another thing I love about this book. You have this inner dialogue where he's questioning things, and he's like I said, I think it was last week or the week before or the episode, whatever, where I was saying how you get this inner dialogue, and all throughout it, even the Alchemist has this inner dialogue where he constantly has to like overcome this inner doubt or whatever it is, right? This inner voice that's like talking to him and trying to bring him down. So I love it because if he didn't have that love, he might just go crazy and like freak out and alarm everyone or flee and take off, or who knows.
Yeah.
Or ignore it. He might just ignore it and be like, what? I was just being silly in the desert.
Yeah. I found the Bible verse. It is from John 4. So in John 4:10, he answers the woman who says, he says to her, if you knew the gift of God and who it is who says to you, give me a drink, because he asked her for water, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. The woman said to him, sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where then do you get that living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this well and drank from it himself, as his sons and his livestock, or as well as his? Jesus answered and said to her, whoever drinks of this water will thirst again, but whoever drinks of the water I shall give him will never thirst. But the water that I shall give him will become in him a fountain of water springing up into everlasting life.
There you have it, everybody.
The woman said to him, sir, give me this water that I may not thirst, nor come here to draw. But she doesn't understand that that was the spiritual meaning.
Yeah, he's like, I
She's
can't
still
get
going
it.
to need, to drink water from the well,
You're gonna
literally,
need
but
it, right? And
but
then also though,
spiritually.
there are stories of people like Jesus touched them, and then they're like, oh, so he could have maybe touched that lady. And I think that really is allegory for just somebody living a Christ life,
Absolutely.
a Christ-like life, and just the effect that it has on people around them. Certain people who are ready, it's like a shell. When you crack a nut, sometimes they're ready to go, and you can do it with your hand or like a little light tap will open it. But a green nut, you need like a chainsaw to try to get in there. So the people who are the people who are
Not
ready to
green.
crack, just one touch of the master, they say sometimes they'll be like, "Whoa, that's enough," because and really doesn't, I think, have to touch them. It could just, like I said, be metaphor for
Affect them.
being around and seeing their behavior and just being like, "Wow, if he could do it, why can't I do it?" It could be as simple as that. Like you see someone else's behavior and they're acting in a more Christ-like way, and it just touches you, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm being a piece of shit. Like you don't even need to have like mushrooms or an experience. Sometimes it's just the people you're around when they're that on that high of a vibration. So yes, it is
Dude,
up to people, but sometimes other people around just spreading the love, and that's all they need. So you never know. Your random act of kindness or love could be the little tap that that little nut needs for that person around you to open up and
dude, what
open
you
up.
were saying totally reminds me of makes me think of the I've been listening to a book about Ram Dass. It's like his biography that he and Rameshwar Das also helped him write.
Oh.
Um, and it's an audiobook, so Rameshwar Das actually reads it. Um, but I've been listening to this story and you saying like maybe sometimes people just need like a touch and it's not necessarily a physical one or whatever, but it makes me think of when Ram Dass met his guru named Karoli Baba, whom they called Maharaji, because if it was like it was almost like an instant turnaround for him. It was like he was just like, this man affected me just by loving me unconditionally, and he didn't even have to do anything really like except for talk to him and I guess Maharaji told him. It's like when Jesus said it's to
Yeah.
this same woman, he tells, okay, hold on, let me just do this.
This same one.
Um, this same woman at the well, he says, go get your husband or call your husband and come here. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. But he said to her, you have well said, I have no husband, for you have had 5 husbands. And the one whom you have now is not your husband. In that you spoke truly. The woman said to him, Sir, I perceive you're a prophet. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, and you Jews say that in Jerusalem, the Jerusalem is the place where one ought to worship. Jesus said to her, Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem worship the Father. You worship what you do not know. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. Of course, like just, we'll let that slide
Well,
right
yeah,
there.
no, I'm not even
But
laughing about it. I'm over that. Yeah. Yeah. No, I was
but the
laughing at the
hours,
other stuff, right? It's so profound.
yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead, yeah.
But the hour is coming and now is when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father is seeking such to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. The woman said, I know the Messiah is coming, who is called Christ. When he comes, he will tell us all things. Jesus said to her, I who speak to you am he. And at this point, his disciples came and they marveled that he talked with a woman. Yet no one said, What do you seek? Or why are you talking with her? The woman left with her, the woman left her water pot, went her way into the city, and said to the men, Come and see a man who told me all things I ever did. Could this be the Christ? Okay. Neem Karoli Baba meets Ram Dass. Like, it seems to be a random thing. They just end up in this like place. He meets a guy uh, who tells him, "Oh, yeah, I'm traveling through India and I need to go see my guru. Will you come with me or whatever?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." So he ends up going. And then he's like, first sees them, and the first thing that Neem Curly Baba Maharaji says to him is like, "Will you give me your?" Of course, he's speaking through a translator, but he's like, "Will you give me your truck or your car, or whatever? What was it? A Jeep? Not a Jeep. The Range Rover. Yeah, you're muted.
A Range
He's
Rover, yeah, that's it.
yeah, he's like, "Will you give me your Range Rover?" And he's like, and then his the person he's traveling with, what's that guy's name? The
Bhagwan
other Das.
Das. Bhagwan
Bhagwan
Das.
Das. Bhagwan Das says, "Yes, you can have it." And he's like, how are you trying to give away something that's not even yours? It's not even mine to give. It's my
He's like, yeah,
friend's.
you can have it.
It's my friend's Range Rover. It's not even mine. And it was like Neem Karoli Baba's way of it was like Neem Karoli Baba's way of like when Jesus tells the man, sell all you have and give to the poor and come follow me, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
he tells the what's the guy, the what do they call that guy? The rich young ruler.
Oh yeah.
He tells a rich young ruler because he's like, how can I, blah blah blah. And he's like,
Uh,
oh, okay, you can sell everything and follow me. Come follow me. So that's
yeah, it's a way
basically
to mess with them on the physical plane because you
yes.
realize they're so because anyone who's just more spiritual, like, sure, you can have the truck. It's God's truck anyway. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
he's just messing with them. It's so great. Yeah.
Yeah. So Maharaj is messing with him, right? But then later on,
And really quickly, the funny thing is, a rich person, if Jesus said that to that ruler and the ruler's like, okay, I'll give it up, Jesus probably would be like, you don't have to. He's like, I just
yeah,
wanted you to know that if you needed to, you don't have to be attached. Like, you'd be like, all right, then you're not attached to it. Clearly, it doesn't matter. Right?
yeah. But he wouldn't have asked that if someone, because he knew what he was
Yes,
testing, right? It's like, so he wouldn't even
exactly.
ask that of someone who was attached.
It's a
So
test somebody,
clearly,
everybody, yeah, everyone
the
says,
rich
oh, I
young
want,
ruler was attached. So he knew that he could test him with that.
everybody says they want spiritual enlightenment, but the masters are like, okay, well, this is what it looks like. You got to give everything up. And they're like, I don't know. They're like, okay, then you really, but if the person's like, all right, and then they're like, okay, come with me, learn. And
Yeah.
even Ram Dass talked about that. Again, not to put this man on a pedestal, he just said a lot of cool things, and he seemed like a chill
Yeah.
dude. That's for our audience, so they know. But he even said though, he's like sometimes it's your karma to be a wealthy person, but if you look at it as not your money, but it's God's money, and what can we
Yeah.
do with it, and you're just the accountant or whatever, that's a
Hmm.
much healthier way to look at it. Because
Yeah.
then if you lose it, you're like, all right, well, God lost the money, not me, and it's fine because he has all the money he needs. So it's
This
wherever it
must be
went.
what I need. Yeah, I mean, this is like preaching to self, to the choir, because
Yeah.
like, you can always be like, oh, where's that going to come from, or how are you going to do that, or what, like why is that so expensive, or and you can just be like, you know what, it's God's money, it's God's money. God will provide. God always provides. He feeds the birds. He clothes the flowers. You know
Yeah.
how come he couldn't do that for me?
Money,
But
money, it's a symbol, right? It just represents a currency here on the physical plane of like goods and services or whatever. So it's just
yeah.
a placeholder. Yeah.
Yeah. So back to Neem Karoli Baba and Ram Dass. So eventually he tells Ram Dass stuff like, oh, so your mom passed away, right? And he's like, wait, how the heck does he know this? Like, I don't know this guy from Adam. Like, I just showed up here. I don't know. And he doesn't know me. I don't know him.
And this was the 60s in the middle of India. Everyone just
Yeah. Yeah. On a freaking mountain in freaking the Himalayas or whatever. And he's just like, how does this guy freaking know? And then he says things like, oh, when your mom was sick, her belly was really big, huh? And he's like, what the? I've like, okay, maybe somebody could have told him that my mom recently died or whatever. But like, why would he know this? Like, this is like personal, And so it was just like, because he felt known and yet he felt loved because Neem Karoli Baba wasn't judging him. He was just having conversation with him. He was interacting with him. But because he felt so unconditionally loved, especially because he had this like um there was taboo stuff, right? That he didn't really tell anybody, but he knew that if Neem Karoli Baba knew that, he knew everything about him, right? Then if he knew everything about him, he knew all his like, you know, all his wanderings and all the things he'd done that, he probably shouldn't have been doing or whatever, according to, you know,
about all the, yeah,
society.
debauchery or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Then he was like he just felt unconditionally loved, which was something he had not felt with his family or his parents, who were just very much like, you need to be this when you grow up. You can only I'm only going to be happy if you're XYZ, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm only happy when you eat all your food and you don't leave anything on your plate or whatever, like these kinds of
Conditional
things.
love.
Right.
Sorry.
Hmm. Exactly. Sorry. So anyway, it made me think of
Oh no, I just it just
Jesus
came out.
and
You're
Ram
just
Dass.
sorry.
I didn't
Yeah.
throw
Oh,
it
oh,
in
and I
there.
wanted to add one real thing too to what you were saying. One other quick thing that I think was important with the transformation of Ram Dass with that whole thing because Maharaji is was also very revered by everyone around him. He was like the man. Everyone was worshiping him. So for this figure who is so esteemed to then show unconditional love to Ram Dass, knowing all his secrets and whatever, his fantasies and everything and his dirty behavior, that I think that's also was part of it because in this materialistic society that we grow up in, this is something we talk about all the time. We are taught and conditioned to get all our validation from external outside sources, not from within, not that well we were talking about earlier, outside sources. So even though we might think that's a little messed up, if that's where you are, that's where you are, and that's what Ram Maharaji realizes, or maybe he doesn't even realize, or whatever. But that's what he's doing, and he's providing that. And then he's like, well, if someone else could love me, Ram Dass, maybe this is the thought process. If someone else can love me, then I can love myself. Then it's
Mm,
okay. If someone else does it, then it's okay. And then once you start to explore the self-love, Maharaji
yes.
becomes like training wheels. You don't even need him anymore. And that's what kind of like Ram Dass says. He's like, once I realized it and I kind of got it, he's like, he touched my feet and he's like, oh, he gets it. I'm no big deal. Like Maharaji's like, I'm not, Ram Dass, I'm sorry. Ram Dass in his mind said he looked at Maharaji and be like, oh, he's just another guy. He's just like me. And that's when fucking he got it. And he went over and touched his feet or whatever. And he was like enlightened, like, and
Yeah, it
it's,
changed his life.
yeah,
Whatever anybody wants to say, like, oh, he touched his feet and whatever. Who cares? Like, it just
it's a
he
perspective
was
shift.
he was changed. Perspective was shifted completely. One could
And
say 180.
And I think, that you could look at this barrier. So you could have, let's say, 100% of your belief is up for grabs, right? And a lot of people are on that line, 50% physical, 50% spiritual. Most people are in the physical. Some people are just in the spiritual. Some people are in the middle. And that's the people that we're talking about, the nut that are easy to crack. So Ram Dass knew all this stuff, right? He
It's
was,
like the Goldilocks, the
yeah.
Goldilocks nut.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be just right. Because Ram Dass knew all this. He read all this. He did a lot of LSD. He saw that we were all one, but he kept talking about he'd have these experiences on LSD and come back and be like, "Oh no, now what?"
Yeah.
And he studied all this and he read like the Book of the Dead. So he knew this intellectually, but he needed someone to crack the nut. And that's really what a true guru will do for you, you know.
Yes.
And then they'll let you go, right? Or you can still be
Because
friends with them, but
be,
they don't want you following around worshiping the whole time. That's not a real guru. But anyway.
because guru literally means in Sanskrit and Hindi or whatever, it means remover of darkness or remover of like the veil so that you can see. That's all it means. Guru.
Yeah. It doesn't mean they charge you, you know, cut by the month and but you listen, if you're doing that work, feel free to charge for it. I'm not saying you shouldn't because it is a fair exchange, but what I'm saying is, the people string you along and then you end up in a cult and geez,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You should have a cult of one
Yeah.
and
And you
that's
know
your
what? If you're
entrance.
following a cult, great. That's
Yeah.
that's where you're at. It's lovely too.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
not trying to change people.
We've all been in cults. Sharon and I have been in one. It's also called Born Again Christianity or whatever. No, just kidding, everybody. We love you guys. But because we always say, as long as people are following the path of Christ or whatever, it doesn't matter what they identify as. It's just that we realize that sometimes our Christian brothers and sisters like to judge a little, but it's cool. We don't
Yeah.
we don't worry.
Everyone is where they are. But
Anywho,
yeah.
you
So
want me to read
that
for a
was
while? Because it's
sure.
we're at the top of the second
I
hour, unless you
thought
want to finish.
there was something else thought of saying, but I can't remember now. So go ahead.
All right. Well, if it comes back up, just let me know. Boom. All right. So is it we're here he wanted to?
Yes.
He wanted to forget about the vision and return to his meditation. He tried again to concentrate on the pink shades of the desert and its stones, but there was something there in his heart that wouldn't allow him to do so. See, there it is. He had to have love to listen to his heart, right? Because if he didn't have love, he would have ignored that prophecy, maybe. Who knows? Always heed the omens, the old king had said. The boy recalled what he had seen in the vision and seen that it was actually going to occur. So there it is. He decides to take action because of it, because of the love he has for himself. He doesn't doubt it, his premonition. He rose and made his way back toward the palm trees. Once again, he perceived the many languages and the things about him. This time, the desert was safe, and it was the oasis that had become dangerous. It's so funny. And so, I've talked about this theme before too. He is this guy who sees the future. Everyone else still sees the oasis as a safe place, but he knows it's not that way anymore. But everyone else is still stuck in the past, as we'll see probably, right? You'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Not the camel driver, though. The camel driver was seated at the base of a palm tree, observing the sunset. He saw the boy appear from the other side of the dunes. An army is coming, the boy said. I had a vision. The desert the desert fills men's head. Try that again. The desert fills men's hearts with visions, the camel driver answered. But the boy told him about the hawks, that he had been watching their flight and had suddenly felt himself to have plunged to the soul of the world. The camel driver understood what the boy was saying. He knew that any given thing on the face of the earth could reveal the history of all things. I fucking love
Mm.
that, right? And if it could reveal the history, all my Dune fans know, if you know the history, you know the past. Isn't that right? All right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you know the past, you know the
You
future
know
is
the
what I meant to
future.
say. Yeah. Yeah.
I had a feeling that's what you meant.
If you know the history, you know the past. All right. Put on
Yes, of course. Yes.
Put on a shirt. One could open a book to any page or look at a person's hand. One could turn a card or watch the flight of the birds. Whatever the thing observed, one could find a connection with his experience of the moment. And this is exactly how tarot works. Let
Tarot.
it
Oh
be,
my God. Yes.
right?
Duh.
Flip a card, baby. Let's do it. You know, I'm just gonna randomly. I got a deck here. This thing said flip a card. I'm gonna flip a card,
Yeah.
everybody. My
It's
Lord of the
like
Rings.
you could crystal gaze, you could
You're
look
just
at the tea leaves or what is it called?
yeah, tea leaves. It's the Four of Swords. Look at that. See, flip a card. And now from that, I could get a direction of where we are in the podcast. You know, like we're about halfway through. We're steaming along real well. Swords are all about air. You know, we're talking this whole
Yeah.
time.
The
There's two
mental
of
plane.
us, which
Yeah.
would, two into four, which means we each have two sides of our explaining things,
The
eviling for. I mean,
anim and animus.
yeah, there's so many ways to look at it, right? So Sharon's a woman, I'm a man, but I have a feminine and masculine energy in me, and she does as well. So that could be the four with the swords, and that's how we're expressing ourselves. So there's all these
Ah.
ways to look, like you said, tea leaves, like you look in the wind, it's all there because how could that be? Because if everything's patterns and cycles, and again, we're just pondering, this is nothing you could prove. This is the great mystery. This is the great pyramid scheme we're approaching, right? This thing right here, which is,
The Great Pyramid Scheme.
did I
Ah,
lost my point?
we're
Whatever.
all on our way to the Great Pyramid Scheme to find our personal legend.
That's right. That's what we're doing. Oh yeah. So the signs, that's what I was saying. So the signs are all around us. The cycles, everything affects everything else. So if you see something going on, even the wind blowing, the temperature, that something changes, could it be that things are going to change? There you go. Four swords. Also denotes a nice time to
Relax, pause.
ponder on the past and in the battle maybe that you've been on. This guy, you see the tomb. A lot of people think it's someone that's dead, but I read an interpretation where a lot of medieval battles afterwards, some of the knights would actually sleep in the tomb where they would have been laid if they died as a way to kind of remember everything and be solemn about it, and not get excited about war. So that's another thing, right? Don't get excited just because we have all this knowledge and we're sharing it doesn't mean we're going to get off here and pat ourselves on the back. We're like, we're the best. We know you should do exactly how we do it. And you got to get a great pyramid in your house too and start a podcast. And No, everyone's got their own path. You got to grow your hair out. And you got to,
Or
you
you
got
got
to
to
eat
cut it,
only
you
this. Yeah,
know?
you got to cut. You got to eat only this, and it's like it's a choose your own adventure kind of thing. I think. Yeah,
Yes, I love it.
and this is my adventure I'm having. That's where the ego comes in handy because sometimes you see yourself in certain ways, and you can also use the ego to see yourself better, and then you can get there. So, it's all part of the package. That's what I say.
Yes.
All right. The one could connection experiment. Okay. Actually, it wasn't those things in themselves revealed anything at all. Oh, it wasn't that those things in themselves revealed anything at all. It was just that people looking at what was occurring around them could find a means of penetration to the soul of the world.
Astrology,
Yeah,
human design, Enneagram, any of those things.
yeah,
MBTI.
yeah. Your intuition.
Yeah.
The desert was full of men who earned their living based on the ease of which they could penetrate the soul of the world. Desert guides, right? That's what he's talking about. He's probably talking about himself right now, this camel driver. They were known as seers, and they were held in fear by women and the elderly. Tribesmen were also wary of consulting them because it would be impossible to be effective in battle if one knew that he was fated to die. Yeah, right? The tribesmen preferred the taste of battle and the thrill of not knowing what the outcome would be. The future was already written by Allah, and what he had written was always for the good of man. So the tribesmen lived only for the present, because the present was full of surprises, and they had to be aware of many things. Where was the enemy's sword? Where was his horse? What kind of bow should one deliver? What kind of
Whoa.
blow should one deliver next in order to remain alive? The camel driver was not a fighter, and he had consulted with seers. Many of them had been right about what they said, while some had been wrong. Then one day, the oldest seer he had ever sought out, and the one most to be feared, had asked why the camel driver was so interested in the future. Well, so I can do things, he had responded, and so I could change those things that I don't want to happen. But then they wouldn't be a part of your future, the seer had said. Well, maybe I just want to know the future so I can prepare myself for what's coming. If good things are coming, they will be a pleasant surprise, said the seer. If bad things are, and you know it in advance, you will suffer greatly before they even occur.
Mm.
Exactly. Bing, bing, bing. Right? I want to know about the future because I am a man, the camel driver had said to the seer, and men always live their lives based on the future. The seer was a specialist in the casting of twigs. He threw them on the ground and made interpretations based on how they fell. That
See,
day, huh?
it's like tea leaves and all
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
He already knows. He's like, I'm just going to throw these twigs. That day, he didn't make a cast. He wrapped the twigs in a piece of cloth and put them back in his bag. I make my living forecasting the future for people, he said. I know the science of the twigs, and I know how to use them to penetrate the place where all is written. Yeah, the Akashic record could it be, right?
Mm.
There's different ways to get there. And that's the whole thing about different ways of the mountaintop. Someone's got twigs, someone's got tarot, Edgar Casey goes into a trance, like everyone's
Yeah.
got their own thing. There, I can read the past, discover what has already been forgotten, and understand the omens that are here in the present. When people consult me, it's not that I am that. Let me right. When people consult me, it's not that I am reading the future, or that's it's not that I am reading the future. I am guessing at the future. The future belongs to God, and it is only He who reveals it under extraordinary circumstances. Oh, yeah, only he who reveals it under extraordinary circumstances. How do I guess at the future? Based on the omens of the present.
Hmm.
The secret is here in the present. If you pay attention to the present, you can improve upon it. And if you improve on the present, what comes later will also be better. Forget about the future. Forget about the future. Faff.
Mm.
Theft, forget about the future, and live each day according to the teachings, confident that God loves his children. Each day in itself brings with it an eternity. Boom, this guy is nailing it.
Mm.
The camel driver had asked what circumstances were under which had asked what the circumstances were under which God would allow him to see the future. Only when he himself reveals it, and God only rarely reveals the future. When he does so, it is for only one reason. It's a future that was written so as to be altered. Oh, that's very interesting,
Wow.
right?
What?
So
Wow.
really, honestly, he's not if this is the future that's being revealed to you, right? Like something that is going to happen that could be maybe altered, then I think it's not really even the future. It's just motivation for that person. It's what they need in that moment to act. It reminds me kind of
Yeah.
like the Lord of the Rings when they look in the mirror, when they look in Galadriel's mirror, and they see it, and Sam sees what he sees in the book, especially. I won't give any of it away, but it does. She says that too. Galadriel's like, this is what may come to be, or what may be, or what may have been. It just shows you, and it's like God. You get these visions or dreams, and you have no idea if it's the past or the future or what it is. But if you love yourself and you can interpret the omens, then perhaps you might be able to avoid the next downturning of this cycle and skip to the next one. All right,
I
that's
just
all.
want to point out something because when you read one of those first lines um at the beginning of this reading, it said the desert was full of men who earned their living based on the ease with which they could penetrate to the soul of the world. It says they were known as seers and they were held in fear by women and the elderly. He's talking about these people who can like read the tea leaves and read the twigs and stuff, right? Is that what they
Yep, yep.
okay.
The Seers. All right. And they're really just the people who are in the present moment, if you think, like that's really all it takes. God had shown, yes, God had shown the boy a part of the future. The camel driver thought, why was it that he wanted the boy to serve as his instrument? See, now
Mm,
this is all this inner talk, still this great positive inner dialogue. He's not being a victim. He's, asking questions. How can this be good? Why did he show it to him? Go and speak to the tribal chieftains, said the camel driver. Tell them about the armies that are approaching. They'll laugh at me. They are men of the desert, and the men of the desert are used to dealing with omens. Well, then they probably already know. They're not concerned with that right now. They believe that if they have to know about something, Allah wants them to know. Someone will tell them about it. It has happened many times before, but this time the person is you. And I
mm,
love this too because it's like, he's saying, well, yeah, they're already men of the desert. They'll get the omens. Someone will come tell them, well, yeah, it's fucking you, dude.
yeah. You're the omen.
And
You're
he
the
has to
one
have
who
that
saw the
self-love,
message.
right? To accept that, and not just to say it's like Luke Skywalker or anyone in a hero's journey that at first doesn't want to accept that it's them,
Mhm.
that's the hero of the story. And then slowly they come to the acceptance. Very slow in
Neo
Wheel
the
of Time.
Matrix.
Yeah, Neo in the Matrix or Wheel of Time.
He's
It's a
like, no,
real
you're
slow
not.
acceptance.
You're not the one.
Yeah, yeah. The Oracle says to Neo, "You're not the one. Sorry, kid. By the time you eat this cookie, good news though. By the time you eat this cookie, you'll forget all about the one and all that stuff. And that's what it is. She had to. She told him what he needed to hear in that moment, right?
Yeah. Because then if he's not, he's loose from that responsibility of feeling like he is the one. And then he can just be himself, which,
Exactly.
is pretty much what he needs to do to be the one.
He's got to know it for himself, right? The Oracle realized that in the Matrix movie. We're still talking about that, everyone.
Yeah.
She can't tell him because he has the doubt, and she sees the doubt in him. The fact he's even asking.
Hmm.
So if he's asking, that means, well, right now you're not the one. So I'm just gonna tell you, nope, you're not the one. But have this cookie.
I want a cookie now.
They're all gonna laugh at me. They're all gonna.
Yeah.
The boy thought of Fatima, and he decided he would go to see the chiefs of the tribe. All right. The boy approached the guard at the front of the huge white tent at the center of the oasis. I want to see the chieftains. I've brought omens from the desert. Without responding, the guard entered the tent, where he remained for some time. He emerged. It was with a young Arab dressed in white and gold. The boy told the younger man what he had seen, and the man asked him to wait there. He disappeared into a tent. Night fell, and an assortment of fighting men and merchants entered and exited the tent one by one. The campfires were extinguished, and the oasis fell as quiet as the desert. Only the lights in the great tent remained. During all this time, the boy thought about Fatima, and he was still unable to understand his last conversation with her. Yeah, he's got it bad. He's like in love. I don't get it, man. Finally, after hours of waiting, the guard bade the boy enter. The boy was astonished by what he saw inside. Never could he have imagined that there in the middle of the desert there existed a tent like this one. The ground was covered with the most beautiful carpets he had ever walked upon, and from the top of the structure hung lamps of hand-wrought gold, each with a lighted candle. The tribal chieftains were seated at the back of the tent in a semicircle, resting upon richly embroidered silk cushions. Serving,
Nice.
yeah, right. Servants came and went with silver trays laden with spices and tea. Other servants maintained the fires and the hookahs. The atmosphere was suffused with the sweet scent of smoke. Oh, okay. Little spirit in the room. There were 8 chieftains, but the boy could see immediately which of them was the most important. An Arab dressed in white and gold, seated at the center of the semicircle. At his side was the young Arab, the boy. At his side was the young Arab boy. Oh, sorry, was the young Arab the boy had spoken with earlier. Yes, yes. Oh, and here we got a little picture of these guys hanging out, chilling. Who is this stranger who speaks of omens? Asked one of the chieftains, eyeing the boy. This is I, the boy answered, and he told what he had seen. Oh, it is I, sorry. It is I, the boy answered, and told him what he had seen. Why would the desert reveal such things to a stranger when it knows that we have been here for generations? Said another of the chieftains. Because my eyes are not yet accustomed to the desert, the boy said. I can see things that eyes habituated to the desert might not see. What a great point. And what a great point, because he's a kid, right? He's like, listen, I'm a boy too. I don't have all these years of like dogma and people telling me the way it should be, you know. I'm just calling it
Yeah.
as I see it, buddy. So you
Yeah,
might,
youth,
uh,
like Jesus says, you must be like a child to enter the kingdom of God.
and what does a child do? They're mostly in the present moment, you know, when they're
Yeah.
not fully
And they have no
brainwashed.
fear.
Yeah. Yeah, when they're in the moment and they're not already yet indoctrinated, that's what I was looking for, to be afraid of things, right? They have no fear. The kids are just running and they learn. They'll touch a stove. I'm not saying you should let them do that. And then it's hot and then they learn, right? That's the best way. Maybe for not a stove, but you know.
Yeah.
All right. I can only tell you what I saw. If you don't want to believe me, oh wait, here we go. Yes. Oh, and I switched pages. That's right. Okay. And also because I know about the soul of the world, he thought to himself. The oasis is neutral ground. No one attacks an oasis, said a third chieftain. I can only tell you what I saw. If you don't want to believe me, you don't have to do anything about it. I love it. He's like, okay.
Mhm.
The men fell into an animated discussion, and I like it that he said that too. He's not trying to
Yeah. I'm
sell him
not,
anything. He's like,
yeah,
this
I'm
is what
not
I saw,
preaching to
dude.
you.
Right?
I'm not trying to preach. I'm
He's
just
not
telling you.
attached. He's like, I don't want to be the messenger here. I don't want to be the savior or whatever. I'm just telling you what I saw. Um, Let's see. The men fell into an animated discussion. They spoke in an Arabic dialect that the boy didn't understand. But when he made to leave, the guard told him to stay. The boy became fearful. The omens told him that something was wrong. He regretted having spoken to the camel driver about what he had seen in the desert.
Uh-oh, he's getting fear.
Uh-oh. He's like, what do I do? Suddenly, the elder at the center smiled almost imperceptibly. Imperceptibly.
Hmm.
And the boy felt better. The man hadn't participated in the discussion and, in fact, hadn't said a word up to that point. But the boy was already used to the language of the world and he could feel the vibrations of peace throughout the tent. Ah. Now his intuition was that he had been right in coming. The discussion ended. The chieftains were silent for a few moments as they listened to what the old man was saying. Then he turned to the boy. This time his expression was cold and distant. 2,000 years ago, in a distant land, a man who believed in dreams was thrown into a dungeon and then sold as a slave. The old man said, now in the dialect the boy understood. Our merchants bought that man and brought him to Egypt. All of us know that whoever believes in dreams also knows how to interpret them. The elder continued, when the Pharaoh dreamed of cows that were thin and cows that were fat, this man I'm speaking of rescued Egypt from famine. His name was Joseph. He
Mm.
too was a stranger in a strange land like you, and he was probably about your age. He paused and his eyes were still unfriendly. We always observe the tradition. The tradition saved Egypt from famine in those days and made the Egyptians the wealthiest of peoples. The tradition teaches men how to cross the desert and how their children should marry. The tradition says that an oasis is neutral territory because both sides have no oases, and so both are vulnerable.
Have oases.
Oh, yeah, both
Both.
sides have oases, and so both are vulnerable. Gotcha. No one said a word as the old man continued. But the tradition also says that we should believe in the messages of the desert. Everything we know was taught to us by the desert. The old man gave a signal and everyone stood. The meeting was over. The hookahs were extinguished and the guards stood at attention. The boy made ready to leave, but the old man spoke again. Tomorrow we are going to break the agreement that says that no one at the oasis may carry arms. Throughout the entire day, we will be on the lookout for our enemies. When the sun sets, the men will once again surrender their arms to me. For every 10 dead men among our enemies, you will receive a piece of gold. But arms cannot be drawn unless they also go into battle. Arms are as capricious as the desert. And if they are not used, the next time they might not function. If at least
Mm.
one of them hasn't been used by the end of the day tomorrow, it will be used on you. When the boy left the tent, the oasis was illuminated only by the light of the full moon. He was 20 minutes from his tent and began to make his way there. He was alarmed by what had happened. He had succeeded in reaching through to the soul of the world, and now the price for having done so might be his life. It was a frightening bet, but he had been making risky bets ever since the day he had sold his sheep to pursue his personal legend.
Yeah. Risky bets.
Yeah, right.
Ah,
But he's following the omens, though, right? So they
yeah.
could seem from the outside as something risky, but because he's putting all his faith in the omens and in God, he knows that he's right. So he still is probably worried about it, but
That's just natural. Comes
yeah,
with the
people know.
territory.
Like, yeah, people are following the omens. They just know. La 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 la. Okay. But he had been making risky as bets ever since. Okay. And as the camel driver had said, to die tomorrow was no worse than dying any other day.
Right.
Every day was there to be lived or to mark one's departure from this world. Everything depended on one word, Maktub. Walking along in silence, he had no regrets. If he died tomorrow, it would be because God was not willing to change the future. He would at least have died after having crossed the strait, after having worked in a crystal shop, and after having known the silence of the desert and Fatima's eyes. He had lived every one of his days intensely since he had left home so long ago. If he died tomorrow, he would already have seen more than other shepherds, and he was proud of that. So he doesn't have that attachment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Suddenly he heard a thundering sound, and he was thrown to the ground by a wind such as he had never known. The area was swirling in the dust so intense that it hid the moon from view. Before him was an enormous white horse, rearing over him with a frightened scream. When the blinding dust had settled a bit, the boy trembled at what he saw. Astride the animal was a horseman dressed completely in black, with a falcon perched on his left shoulder. He wore a turban, and his entire face, except for his eyes, was covered with a black kerchief. He appeared to be a messenger from the desert, but his presence was much more powerful than that of a mere messenger.
Wow. The omens. And if you have read this book ever before, you will notice, I won't give anything away, but you'll notice that this little passage right here is kind of a like an omen or like a foreboding as well.
Which passage?
The one we just read, the one you just read right now.
Uh,
The dust, the wind, and then
uh,
yeah, this guy appearing.
mm-hmm. Who could it be? Who could it be now?
Now, who can it be now? I can't hear that because
Oh
Zoom is
no.
blocking it.
Zoom, what are you doing? Da 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 da. The strange
Yeah.
horseman drew an enormous curved sword from a scabbard mounted at his saddle on his saddle. The steel of its blade glittered in the light of the moon. Who dares to read the meaning of the flight of the hawks? He demanded so loudly that his words seemed to echo through the 50,000 palm trees of Al Fayoum. Fayoum. It is I who dare to do so, said the boy. He was reminded of the image of Santiago Matamoros, mounted on his white horse with the infidels beneath his hooves. This man looked exactly the same, except that now the roles were reversed. It is I who dare to do so, he repeated, and he lowered his head to receive a blow from the sword. Many lives will be saved because I was able to see through to the soul of the world.
Wow. He is really being bold right here.
And he doesn't
And
care.
he's
He's
not
like, it's me.
afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take it if you must. Take it if you must. It reminds me of the monks. You hear the stories about like when the Chinese invaded Tibet or whatever, and the monks were like, the guy's like, don't, the Chinese general's like, don't you know who I am? I can ram my sword through you. And the monk's like, don't you know who I am? I could allow you to ram your sword through me, not to let it affect me. Like, I just smile. Like, don't
Ah.
you know who I am?
I am God. I am
Yeah,
you. I am
I am.
I am another you.
Exactly. Go ahead and kill me, but, I'm just gonna come back as a cricket that crickets in your fucking tent all night. Um, Yeah, the sword didn't fall. Instead, the stranger lowered it slowly until the point touched the boy's forehead. It drew a droplet of blood. The horseman was completely immobile, as was the boy. It didn't even occur to the boy to flee. In his heart, he felt a strange sense of joy. He was about to die in pursuit of his personal legend, and for Fatima, the omens had been true after all. Here he was, face to face with his enemy, but there was no need to be concerned about dying. The soul of the world awaited him, and he would soon be a part of it, and tomorrow his enemy would also be a part of that soul. The stranger continued to hold the sword at the boy's forehead. Why do you read the flight of the birds? I only read what the birds wanted to tell me. They wanted to save, oops, thing just popped up. They wanted to save the oasis. Tomorrow, all of you will die because there are more men at the oasis than you have. Oh, wait, let me try that again. Tomorrow, all of you will die because there are more men at the oasis than you have. Oh, so he thinks this guy's an invader. That's right. The sword remained where it was. Who are you to change what Allah has willed? Allah created the armies, and he also created the hawks. Allah taught me the language of the birds. Everything has been written by the same hand, the boy said, remembering the camel driver's words. He's fucking
Mhm.
holding his own here, right?
Holy
This
crap.
is great. It reminds me of Bilbo with Gollum with the riddles, kind of.
Yeah.
The stranger withdrew the sword from the boy's forehead, and the boy felt immediately relieved, but he still couldn't flee. Be careful with your
Prognostications.
prognostications, said the stranger. When something is written, there's no way to change it. All I saw was an army, said the boy. I didn't see the outcome of the battle. The stranger seemed satisfied with the answer, but he kept the sword in his hand. What is a stranger doing in a strange land? I am following my personal legend. It's not something you would understand. The stranger placed his sword in its scabbard, and the boy relaxed. I had to test your courage, the stranger said. Courage is the quality most essential to understanding the language of the world. Now, we should stop here
Yeah. There's stuff to
because
talk about.
this is the whole reason that Aleister Crowley, who's shining on us from heaven, switched the 8 and 11. The courage.
It's
Before
not that
some,
he switched them.
well, yeah.
Writer
You're right,
Rider
you're right, you're
Waite,
right.
I think he was using the original one.
Switch them
Rider
back,
Waite
shall I
switched
say?
him. Yes, switched him
Okay.
back.
So
Or
why
used
he
the original
why he
positions.
believes the order is correct in his deck versus Rider Waite, we could even say it that way. Where it's like because you need that courage and that strength of will in order to stand up for justice. Because some people will say it's justice is at the 11, and it's because everything needs to be fair, which I get it, but that's more of an exoteric kind of look, I think. But the esoteric, the inner battle we're talking about here, we're not talking about the Illuminati and George Bush in 9/11 or whatever. We're talking about the inner battle, the battle of Kurukshetra, if you will, like this, the Bhagavad Gita is about. It's about this inner battle, and you need courage and the force of will to stand up and to even want to fight this battle and to not want to go watch TV or, whatever your favorite form of escapism is, whatever your favorite form of escapism is. And we're not judging you. We're just giving commentary to this lovely book. Yeah, what do you think? It's great. Will,
Yeah,
courage.
yeah. Um, where I saw something and I wanted to say something, and then you kept, where did you start reading? The sword didn't fall. Instead, the stranger lowered it slowly until he pointed it still till the point touched the boy's forehead. Um, I think it's where he said the soul of the world awaited him and he would soon be part of it, and tomorrow his enemy would also be part of that soul. This is basically stressing, um it's at the top of the it's at the top of the page, but you
Oh,
don't have
yeah.
to.
I was just getting ready for reading again, but
Oh,
go
okay.
ahead, go ahead though.
um he's it's basically talking about Advaita, right? Non-duality, like unity, we're all one. He's like the soul of the world awaited him. Basically, the universe, the everything, the all, when you like go from
Merch.
this world to the next, when you
When,
die.
when you can even say it this way, when your ego dies and the rest of you and your body dies, but the rest of you is just like, woo, just fades into whatever this energy is. It gets absorbed back into it, right? This is what Sharon's talking about. Because I said this to a lady the other day. It's a fun little story. I won't exactly say who was there, but we were out to dinner and there was a little, it was a really nice old place. And outside they had this like fire pit, but it was like a tripod like thing, and it was a basket hanging with
Was it
fire in it.
was it a great pyramid scheme?
It was a great pyramid scheme. Yeah, it was a pyramid with fire in it. Wow, that's crazy. It only had three sides though, but it was just like a tripod thing with a fire basket, and we were hanging out. We walked out there, and there was a person out there who had the same. It was a woman. She had the same name as a woman with us. We were talking to her, and it turns out she went through several experiences in her life. She lost her husband and stuff, and she was there visiting her kids. She lived out of state now, and we just had this whole discussion. And I brought that up because she was into spiritual things, but then she also, her husband who had passed away was like a doctor at like worked at like a famous hospital slash university that's in Connecticut you probably heard of. And so we were talking, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, you see this thing right here, and I pointed to something. I'm like, science will tell you if you just zoom in, it's just energy, right? It's just all bouncing around, like, and I'm like, and so I talked about the whole materialistic thing where how we're just steeped and raised and really indoctrinated that everything's material. And, they disproved that in like the 1800s. And this poor lady was just like, she's like, yeah. And then I switched to like more lighter topics. But that's really what we're talking about here. When you die, you just get absorbed back into this energy, whatever it is. So there really is nothing to fear. It's actually over. You could probably be relieved. And I'm not saying go kill yourself or whatever, but it's like, yes, God took me. Because if you kill yourself, yes, I guess you could say it's part of God's plan. But if it happens to you in a way that is of not of your own doing directly, and you just die, that's really what God had ordained for you. But that's why I'm saying you shouldn't just kill yourself. Everybody else. But to people who have committed suicide in the past, that was part of their plan too. What can you say? That was part of God's plan. What else could we say? Because it's what happened. So, but anyway, I don't know, that
Yeah.
took a dark turn. Don't
That's
kill
what
yourself, everyone,
happens
but when you die, rejoice. Be happy. It's going to be great.
when you die,
Better be.
rejoice. Yeah. That that reminds me of the Robert Monroe stuff.
Yeah.
Because basically it's about the other side, right? When he has these out of body experiences, he's on the other side, but he still has a physical body here, which makes him like unique from most everyone else who is on the other side already. But dang it, something you said made me think of something, and now I've forgotten what I was going to say about it. Oh well.
Well, I will take this time to say thank you for everybody for watching this. I will be, if this goes how we should be, if we release it when it should get out, I will be on my way to a concert, or well, I'll be listening or probably in the chat, but I'll be headed to New Hampshire to go see Primus and Pussifer and A Perfect Circle. So,
Oh wait, I mean, aren't they the same band? Not Primus, but the other two. Is this?
well, they have so Tool, Pussifer,
Yeah.
and A Perfect Circle have the same
What's his
guy.
face?
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh,
Maynard.
Maynard. Maynard
James
Keenan.
Maynard Keenan or Keenan,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Maynard, yeah,
Maynard
that,
James Keenan, something
yeah,
like
that's
that.
it.
But
Yeah,
Maynard's
Maynard.
not as he gave himself that name, I think, Maynard. That wasn't like his given name when he was
And let me
born.
tell you, that dude, you
But
listen to like that, the newest song that Pussyfur has is uh Algorithm or whatever, one of their newer songs, and it's that guy gets it. But yeah, so I should be having a great time. And if not, I'm
well,
gonna have a great time
he
anyway.
has vineyards here in Arizona in Jerome area. And I've been to one of his establishments, one or two,
Awesome.
two or three,
To a couple things, whatever.
something like that. Because I mean, he owns a ton of establishments,
Yeah,
like from like restaurants to not breweries, wineries, etc. He owns a bunch of stuff out there.
very
So,
smart man. I'm sure he's
but
got a good inner circle. Yeah, so that's
a
that.
good
So if you're
inner
wondering,
perfect circle. I'm just kidding.
yeah, a perfect circle. Let's draw it.
Oh, and I think I will be traveling as well. Only I'll be traveling in the easterly direction toward where Brandon lives.
Yeah, there
So
you go.
if
The,
all goes to plan, like we said.
the East Coast, the Beast Coast.
But you're gonna premiere. Are you gonna be in the chat?
Yeah, I should be. I mean, it could be driving too, so I might be not participating as heavily as I do always do sometimes, but yeah, we'll be saying what's up. But
Sounds
don't worry,
good.
everybody. If you want to get a hold of us, just wait till we're live and you could speak at us directly or just leave a comment and we will surely get to it and probably talk about it on the show like we've done in the past. All right, where are we? All right, so we're almost toward the end here. We could see where it brings us to wrapping up. Maybe we'll find a good wrapping up spot.
Yeah, where were
La
we?
la la. The boy was, I highlighted it, see?
Oh, good.
The boy was surprised. The stranger, because we just said courage is the quality most essential. So that's where we are, everybody, because we did kind of overshare. The boy was surprised. The stranger was speaking of things that very few people knew about. You must not let up, even after having come so far, he continued. You must love the desert, but never trust it completely, because the desert tests all men. It challenges every step and kills those who become distracted.
Mm,
Exactly. That's what I was saying about Dune, right? Like this desert, man, it's just,
unpredictable.
it's like a litmus test, it tests every ounce of your being. Right? That's why Jesus went into the desert, fasted for 40 days and nights or whatever it was. Michael Jackson will tell you, 40 days and 40 nights, and I want to sing, but come on now. All right, the same hand, la, 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 la. What he had said reminded the boy of the old
Wait,
king. But yes, go ahead.
Yes, yes, yes. That's where you were. Sorry. I
If
thought you were
the
going to
yeah, no
skip it.
problem. Yeah, I was. If the warriors come here and your head is still on your shoulders at sunset, come find me, said the stranger. The same, and it's funny. He says it, and it seems a little callous, but the kid was just ready to die anyway. So the man knows. Well, if you
Hmm.
still have your head, right? And that's how alchemists talk to each other. They're like, "Listen, if you're still alive, bro, come see me. If not, I'll see you on the other side, dude.
Yeah.
We'll do some cosmic cocaine. We'll vape it. You guys know what I'm talking about now." The same hand that had brandished the sword now held a whip. The horse reared again, raising a cloud of dust. "Where do you live?" shouted the boy as the horseman rode away. The hand with the whip pointed to the south. The boy had met the alchemist. Maybe we could,
And didn't yet know it.
and didn't yet know it. So I like that. To the south, right? What is traditionally the south is like?
Antarctica.
Well, yeah, the Antarctica too. I live on the other side of the ice wall. Come and find me. The bigger pyramid over here, I bet. Oh,
Oh my God.
uh, we have the great pyramid here.
The thrice great pyramid
Thrice.
scheme.
We just skipped. We got the thrice great. We got the glorious pyramid here. They just have like different realms with better.
We
It's
have the
like
Pyramid Trismegistus.
yeah. Also, so the South, right? We have this song by
Oh
Slayer called
God.
"South of Heaven," and it's about hell, right? So South, that people think of hell and South and all this stuff. And so
And
it's
he's
funny.
dressed in black and he's
He's
all
in
creepy.
yes, and what's in the South? The sun too, from our direction, and it casts the shadow. So he's like going to the shadow. He's going to the South. He's going. He's like, come to the darkness because
To
you're
the
not
dark
afraid to
side.
die. The power of the dark side, right? Like you will not know the power of the dark side. And it's true because if you could tap in your shadow fully, but you get stuck in the shadow, you could have all this tremendous power, like a Sith Lord, like Darth Vader or the Emperor or whatever. But you're missing the other half. And then, or you could be a Jedi like Yoda and Mace Windu and all these guys in the prequels. And you could be all for good and try to have no attachments in this earthly realm. And, that reminds me of the New Age look at no attachments, and that's why I think they failed. And you have Luke Skywalker. He's the perfect blend. He's wearing black, but he goes and saves his friends. He forsakes Yoda, the master, his teacher,
Mm-hmm.
because he
To
trusts his
save
own
his,
intuition to
yeah.
save his friends.
Yeah. If he hadn't, they'd have died,
Yeah,
you know,
who knows?
or whatever.
Yeah, I mean they end up dying anyway in the anyway, everybody. We all die. What are you gonna do?
We all die.
We all die. But I feel like that's why Luke made that choice. And if you're into Star Wars but you don't know about Dune, just go read or Dune. Anyway, okay. It's not a Dune commercial. Oh no, I don't know. Yeah, I think what do you think? We could
We
probably
got like, let's see, where does this go? Where does
because
this
if
stop?
we
Yeah,
then
just
it
read
goes
the next little bit
okay. All right.
because it ends like,
Oh, perfect. All right. It'll be a
yeah,
good, yeah. So that we don't have to leave people with a cliffhanger.
yeah.
We're not like that, guys. We're not like a show on Netflix that's gonna want,
I
we
mean,
don't have,
sometimes it just happens. We're not
yeah.
trying.
We're just trying, right? The next morning, there were 2,000 armed men scattered throughout the palm trees at Al Fayoum. Fayoum. Before the sun had reached its high point, 500 tribesmen appeared on the horizon. The mounted troops entered the oasis from the north. It appeared to be peace. It appeared to be a peaceful expedition, but they all carried arms hidden in their robes. When they reached the white tent at the center of Al Fayoum, they withdrew their scimitars and rifles, and they attacked an empty tent. The men of the oasis surrounded the horsemen from the desert, and within half an hour, all but one of the intruders were dead. The children had been kept at the other side of the grove of palm trees and saw nothing of what had happened. The women had remained in their tents, praying for the safekeeping of their husbands, and saw nothing of the battle either. Were it not for the bodies on the ground, it would have appeared to be a normal day at the oasis. Business as usual. The only tribesman spared was the commander of the battalion. That afternoon, he was brought before the tribal chieftains who asked him why he had violated the tradition. The commander said that his men had been starving and thirsty, exhausted from many days of battle, and had decided to take the oasis so as to be able to return to the war.
They couldn't have just like asked for help, you
Yeah.
know?
The tribal chieftain said that he felt sorry for the tribesmen, but the tradition was sacred. He condemned the commander to death without honor. Rather than being killed by a blade or a bullet, he was hanged from a dead palm tree. Ooh, where his body twisted in the
Wow.
desert wind. There's some
Wow.
symbolism for you, huh?
Mm.
Because the palm tree normally means life for people, right? And now it's a dead one. The tribal chieftain called for the boy and presented him with 50 pieces of gold. He repeated the story about Joseph of Egypt, and asked the boy to become the counselor of the oasis.
Oh, wow.
And I think this is a good place to leave it because it's on a happy note. Now the
Yeah.
cliffhanger is, will he become the counselor or will he continue with
On his
the
journey. Mm.
alchemist? I think we all know what he's going to do, everybody. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a guy in the desert that's like, come see me. It's like, but it's cool because he's offered this, it's
Position
again,
of,
right? It's a worldly thing. If he didn't have love for himself and for Fatima and for his own personal legend, he might be wooed by this position because then he's going to be important. He could become an important person in the society of that oasis. He could be maybe one day become a chieftain. There's a huge path there for him, but he can't
and
do it.
the things that come with it, right? The golden chandeliers hanging from that cool tent, all the beautiful carpets,
The
you know,
servants,
the servants, the silk that they're sitting on,
yeah.
it's like
And that
everything,
represents
man.
like all of the worldly treasures that you can
Yeah.
get. Because like somebody like Sharon or I,
And fame and power.
take our we can easily take our knowledge and put it into something that could probably make us millionaires, like and control people and start a cult or whatever with all this knowledge we have. We could do it. We're probably starting one now in the future. We don't know it. Don't put us on a pedestal, everybody. Remember. So anyway, yeah, he would have missed that opportunity again. And that's what happens when you get these powers. Sometimes you call them, cities or whatever. You get a premonition of the future, and then all of a sudden your ego takes over and you think you're the one who does it. And
And you're like,
now,
I am God.
yep.
It's just me. I'm the only one.
And when that happens, sometimes your level of consciousness might fall, and then you don't get these prophecies anymore, but people are expecting them. So then you might start to, play around and lie and do what you have to do, right? It's really
Dude.
amazing how you see this happen a lot. It's like what old people in sports, right? Like pitchers, if they're a baseball pitcher, after a while they start, you see a movie sometimes or whatever, they'll make fun of it. They put like spit or whatever they can on the ball, like grease after a while because they can't throw as fast as they used to be able to, but they want to remain relevant, so they try all these tricks. So that's what they'd end up doing instead of just following their dharma or their own personal legend. And that's what I feel like. That's my guess. And yes, I've already read it, but I would have guessed that anyway. But you never know. Maybe he'll stay there. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll stay for a year and,
Also makes me think of the righteous gemstones.
yeah. Yeah.
Like trying to hold on to these positions of power of like religious like authority and like money and wealth and whatever.
The stuff that goes on in the background, right? Baby
Oh
Billy.
my, oh
Baby
my
Billy's Bible
God.
bonkers. And the
Oh my God.
locust.
Uncle Baby Billy.
Uncle Baby Billy's Bible bonkers. And then Teengus. Have you seen the new one yet?
We
Teengus!
haven't seen I'm we are barely in the first
No,
season.
that's fine. All right, I won't say nothing. It's this last season that's airing now. I'll say it's pretty good, but it's the first. I'm jealous of you because the first seasons were better. And I was talking to somebody about this I worked with, and they were like, I think it's because in the first season you only get a couple perspectives from different people, and then as the season goes, there's more characters, and you start to get their perspective, and it's still funny. But Noah's fun, like Danny McBride, that dude,
Oh my God, he's freaking ridiculous.
he's so funny.
I didn't
Eastbound and
realize
Down.
how ridiculous the show was. Nobody told me. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I thought it was just, I mean, damn, it's crazy as hell.
Reggie
Holy
Jones,
shit.
yeah. It's so great. Uncle Baby Billy, yeah, he's
Oh my God. It's ridiculous.
Walton Goggins. That guy
He's
is so
funny.
talented.
He's good.
I love how they play older people like that. That's so funny. It reminds me of Johnny Knoxville from
Oh,
Jackass when they played like older men, like in their movies. That's what
oh, I don't remember that, but I know who you're talking about. I
they
just
put
never
on old
watched.
man suits and they were messing with people. It was
Oh
so
my
funny.
gosh.
They're like, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Because it looks
I
like they
came
really
across
got
some.
hurt, but they're like a skater,
Oh,
so they
okay.
don't really, like hit somebody with something or whatever. Yeah. But anyway,
I I
God.
came across when I was first looking up. I don't know why. I think I was looking up Walton Goggins or something for some reason, and then I came across a an article that was saying something about like, was that was that a prosthetic or was that real? And I was like, what the hell are they talking
Oh, I didn't want to give that part away, but he's
about?
water skiing as Uncle Baby Billy naked. It's so.
Oh my God.
But it's cool because a lot of these shows they're always showing like naked women, and I think it's cool that if a movie or show shows a naked dude, I don't get insecure. Good for them. And I'd rather no nudity in movies or shows, but if you're gonna have boobs, then have penises. It's only fair.
It's only
It's only. I don't mean a person should have boobs and a penis. That's not what I'm saying. No, or not. Whatever you want
God,
to do. But
oh
what I'm
God.
saying for TV shows,
As above, so below.
as above, so. The Oversharing Show is brought to you by MoreLawsMoreProblems.com. Everybody, click on the Oversharing tab and
Oh
leave comments.
God.
Let us know what you think. Subscribe, thumbs up, all those great things. Send us money if you want. We love money. You don't have to though. You could just be here every Thursday. Whatever you want to do, whatever brings the most excitement and joy to you, do that. And check out The Righteous Gemstones. It is a really good show. If you're a Christian, it's good because you can make fun of yourself. If you're not, and if you grew up in any kind of, it's
If
very
you're
cathartic and
sensitive
funny.
to
Yeah,
if you're
it's
sensitive to top adult topics, yeah, don't watch it. But if
I don't think you're watching this show though. But yeah. Anyway,
oh,
thank you
true,
for watching.
true.
If you did watch, and if you're still here at the end, we commend you. Big shout out to the chat. Thanks, guys, for hanging out here all the way to the end, especially. We love our chat. We say it's the best chat on the internet. That's really why we have the best show on the internet. Our chat is the only chat on the internet that makes you not want to kill yourself. Well, there's a few more, but we're one of the few. So good for us.
And just as a final note to what I was talking about, the as above, so below. What is that thing called again? What is
A
that guy
penis?
called?
No, I'm just kidding.
No, the guy,
Baphomet?
the Baphomet. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to
So,
my amazing woman who just threw that in because she just happened to be in the room real quick and she's
oh,
like,
she heard
Baphomet?
it. Yes, thank you.
I
Thank
wouldn't have
you.
got that. She's the
Um, thank you. I was like, what is that guy called? I forgot.
I was like, penis? No.
Oh my
I was
God.
thinking of the magician, but yeah, she was right. See,
Yeah,
this is
see
why
the
she could be
Baphomet.
married to a wizard because she can handle it. And,
Yeah. So, the reason I bring it up is because I've been reading about the history of the tarot. And
oh,
in one of the books I'm reading, because there's a few of them and I don't remember which one it is, but I think it's the one by a guy named Robert Place. And it's really good because it really gives you the history, not the like the so-called history of what people are like, oh, it's Egyptian, and it's not. It's not Egyptian, but people can still make
the ideas
correlations,
and the
and
concepts are
yeah, there's
totally,
still
yeah.
concepts that could be related, like hermetic
It's like,
concepts, and
yeah.
but like people have really tried to like paste it on there and like make it work. And I forgot the guy's name who did it, but he really like really tried to make it so. And he's the one who came up with the Baphomet. Um, but the Baphomet was more about um it is like the Hermetic principles, as above, so below, right? That's why he has one arm pointing up, one arm pointing down, or whatever. I don't know how he does it, but if you look at the Baphomet, he's expressing almost everything that you can see as the extremes, all the extremes, right? The masculine and the feminine, right? The light and the dark, the up and the down. So like if you look at the Baphomet, that's all it's trying to express is the polarities. And like when we talk about the Kybalion, and all these hermetic principles that we're going to be talking about, um, which if you're watching this, you've probably seen that our episode that we you are muted.
We're
Our
time
episode,
traveling. We haven't talked about it
yeah,
yet, but we are going to
yeah,
this Thursday, and you're not going to see this till next Thursday. Is
yeah.
our plan. So
So
yeah. Anyway,
yeah, so it's time travel, you guys.
I'm so excited to talk about the Kabbalion. By the way, everybody, I could say it now
Yeah,
because we're not real. Well, we hinted at it, but yeah. So if you're just seeing this, go back and watch that episode if you haven't, and stay tuned to that for that series. We're going to do it side by side with this. We're just
until
going to
this
keep
one's
cranking them out.
over. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
So
we have more in our minds too. This is a really cool format we love for our show. We're still, gonna have guests and do other shows too, but this just gives us really good content, and it seems to be so synchronistic with the omens, with
yeah.
everything that's going on that it's like might as well just keep going.
Well, and it provide what I love about it is it provides us with commentary about the things we talk about. Because when we read these passages, it sparks our memories on like how it relates to other things, how it relates to our experiences, how it relates to things happening in our lives, and how it could be affecting other people's lives in the audience. So
100%. In all these things are so timeless. So, all
indeed.
right. Well, everybody, thank you again for hanging out to the end, and it's time for me to ask Sharon, what do we say to the good people, Sharon? Excuse me.
Now, once you start over Sharon,
Then you totally stop over Karen.
that's right.
And remember, we would never try to tell you how to live your life, everybody.
Never, 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 never. We're just reminding you how to just be.
That's
Just
right.
be.
Just be. There's nothing wrong with you. Could it be? Could it be? There's nothing wrong with you. Just be. All right, everybody, have a great weekend, and we will see you soon. Take care. Bye.